I'm joined this afternoon by the MP for the district, MP Ianthea Simmons-Wade, Belco representatives Mr. Nadir Wade, you related? Director of Grid Management Services, and Naeem Griffith. The public will recall the announcement from just over a year ago that advised of the Ministry of Public Works and Belco's joint initiative to carry out a coordinated approach to road trenching throughout the island. The primary objective of this was to enable Belco to conduct significant upgrades to its network over a 3-year period. It was also an opportunity for other businesses and stakeholders to coordinate their efforts during this island-wide trenching exercise to ensure that all the necessary entities were prepared and ready to lay any and all underground equipment. Examples of underground equipment include cabling, piping, and extra conduits for future use. These trenching works were coordinated with stakeholders to ensure that once the trenching work is complete, the people of Bermuda will have newly paved roads that will be more durable, resilient, long-lasting, and not have to be excavated again in the foreseeable future. I'm also delighted to advise that these works have provided employment opportunities, thus further stimulating our economy. The size and scope of the Belco project and completing it on schedule has involved enlisting private sector contractors, which in turn created jobs for other sectors. I'm sure all will agree this is good news. However, as is the nature of roadworks, there will be traffic disruptions. While these traffic delays may be an inconvenience, it is an unavoidable but necessary part of this critical work. Therefore, we will continue to give as much advance notice as possible and keep disruptions to a minimum so road users may consider taking alternative routes during this period. On behalf of the Government of Bermuda, Belco, and all the organizations involved in this effort, I apologize in advance for any inconvenience caused and again ask for the public's patience and full cooperation as we continue carrying out these critical infrastructure upgrades. This short-term pain will lead to long-term gain. So when the time comes and you find yourself sitting in traffic, frustrated with the delay and wishing the traffic would move along, I ask that you take a moment to consider the immense benefit of these works to all road users and the general public. Following these works, we will have a far more secure, reliable, state-of-the-art infrastructure for all, and probably most importantly, we anticipate no need for future road trenching for many years to come. At this time, I'd like to recognize the hard work and dedication thus far of Mr. Leighton Rahman of the Ministry of Public Works, Mr. Nadir Wade, and Mr. Jonathan Pedro of Belco, who have worked together throughout this project, and I expect will continue to do so to its completion. I'm confident that all road users and the public will be pleased with the eventual outcome and reliability. We are here today to announce the next phase of the project, which is to renew Belco's existing high-voltage cables from this substation at Belmont to Camp Hill. This work forms part of Belco's overall program to renew its aging infrastructure and will be carried out in 5 phases, with the first phase being from this location to Longford Hill. The existing high-voltage cables are aged and past due for replacement, which has resulted in several outages in the area over the last few months. Failing to replace these cables expeditiously would likely increase cable faults and outages in the western part of the island. Alongside the Belco works, the Ministry of Public Works will be carrying out a long-desired road widening project in Warwick Parish. Currently, Middle Road from Burnt House Hill to T.N. Tatum School has a narrow road width that does not allow for 2 buses to pass without taking extreme caution in some areas. To address this issue, the rock cliff on the southern side of Middle Road near Greendale Lane will be excavated to expand the width of the road and placement of a sidewalk. The minimum roadway width would be 10 feet with a 4-foot sidewalk on the southern side. I probably had more complaints from members of the general public about this stretch of road than any other. We've had to negotiate with landowners to acquire the necessary pieces of land to make this work possible. These roadworks and new sidewalk will be an improvement for pedestrian and the motoring public. These works are estimated to begin shortly. I now ask Mr. Nadir Wade from Belco to provide some specifics on the Belco works. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. For more than 100 years, Belco has been providing power to the people of Bermuda. During that time, we have installed hundreds of miles of overhead and underground and even undersea cables connecting homes and businesses across the island. As power needs and technology progressed, this grid infrastructure has been upgraded and replaced. However, there are parts of the grid that are now over 60 years old and in need of replacement. As part of Belco's 5-year capital plan, we are making major infrastructure improvements to our grid that will serve our customers into the future with more reliable, safe, and cost-effective electricity. The upgrades we are making will also ensure that we accommodate large and small-scale renewable energy to be safely fed into the grid, from projects such as the solar finger installation at the airport and residential rooftop solar. Part of this grid upgrade, as the Minister has explained, will require trenching along public roadways to lay cable underground. This project began in early 2020 and is planned to be carried out over 30 to 36 months. Belco will provide information on its website that is accessible to the public. The project began last year in the East End with trenching from the substation at Aleph International Airport to Mullet Bay, St. George's. We are now moving on to the next phase with trenching from Belmont Substation all the way to Morgan's Point. We are planning the work to create as minimum disruption as possible, as stated by the Minister. I am pleased to reiterate what the Minister has said about cooperation with government and other utilities to ensure that they can take advantage of the trenching and install any other infrastructure that may be required at that time. This will ensure roads that have been trenched and newly paved won't be dug up again for the foreseeable future. On behalf of the entire Belco team, I would like to take this opportunity to ask for the public's understanding and patience as we complete these critical infrastructure upgrades that will ensure a more secure and sustainable energy future for Bermuda. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank our Belco team and our team of contractors, including Naeem Griffith and his team, and Jonathan Pedro as the project manager. There's a lot that is required to undertake such an extensive project, and it takes a lot of collaboration, and I just want to thank all parties for being a part of the process. Thank you. So we anticipate that the West End, well, we're doing this project in phases. Yeah, so as the Minister mentioned, this is the first phase. And each phase is being coordinated in such a way that minimum disruption is the aim, right? So the first phase will take about 6 weeks, and then all the way to get to Morgan's Point is going to go into 21, going into 2022. But the project will be phased such that disruption is minimized, and alternative routes of transport will be coordinated between the Ministry and Belco to meet that objective.
This is what's part of the $5 million upgrade?
This project is a $43 million transmission upgrade throughout the entire island, from the East End all the way to the West End. No, essentially the East and the West are mirror images of one another. And so essentially, and they also have the same edge cables. So we're actually doing it all at one time.
And then in the middle?
In the middle, we have National Stadium to flats, and that kind of builds the infrastructure for the entire transmission cable upgrade as it relates to the oldest cables on our network. Any other questions specifically for me?
Yeah, I guess I'd be interested in hearing. So there's other utilities involved. I'm guessing waterworks and the like. Can you give us an idea of some of the other companies that are going to be piggybacking on this work? There's
a number of infrastructure companies that are involved. I won't necessarily go into who and where and what. However, anyone that is into infrastructure, as the minister has said, is that the idea is that everyone gets into the trench at the same time in order to minimize any excavation works in the future. Yeah.
I guess when are we going to start seeing the digging? It's going to go ahead around here pronto?
Yeah, so Belmont, the immediate area of Belmont to Kemp Hill will start in the first phase, as the minister mentioned, kind of going towards Longford Hill. That will start as of Monday. There are going to be some works kind of inside the substation, but by the end of the week, motorists can expect some level of delay and should organize themselves accordingly.
Minister, I had a couple of infrastructure-related questions, if that's all right.
Yep.
I'll give it a shot. I was hoping if there's any news going with the Ottawa Simmons Arbitration Center. Is there anything on the horizon?
Still stuck with finance.
I didn't hear you.
The financial package is still with the Ministry of Finance for consideration.
Right, thanks. How much is it?
I don't know.
You don't know at all?
No.
idea?
No.
How was it doing?
No.
This is that's a project that involves this overseas company.
Yep.
I think it's a private-public partnership.
Yep.
What you mentioned. So this company must have some idea how much this company is going to get.
Well, I have no idea how much they're going to get.
This is a company that's going into business with the Bermuda government, so there must be some arrangement already. It's got
Yeah.
some contract.
It has to be approved by the Ministry of Finance before I release that sort of information. They may say no. We may have to go back and negotiate. That's the nature of the beast.
Can you give us some idea of how much? You mentioned that this will create jobs. So, any idea how many jobs?
This project?
You mentioned in your speech that.
Yeah, he can speak to that.
So I won't actually give numbers that I don't have at this time. However, right now we have 4 contractors that are active. So they've been working down in the East End. We have plans to bring on 2 more contractors, and each of those contractors have multiple crews working in specific areas. So the way we look at it in support of the economy is to engage as many contractors as possible that are actually qualified and certified and have the equipment and the requirements in order to be able to accomplish this work. So we're engaged in a number of contractors, and the way we look at it is that if we didn't have this project going, we're one of the biggest infrastructure projects going on at this time. So we're happy to help support the Bermuda economy and our construction industry, which may not be as active.
I just wanted to ask about entry down onto Elbow Beach. I had a bunch of folks sending me pictures of it yesterday.
Yeah, they got to wait. There are a number of infrastructure projects in the country that require attention. That one is on the list for the stimulus package that is just, the pre-qualification just ended on Monday. And so it'll be high on the list to be addressed long before the summer.
Thank you, sir. Last one I had, Mayor Doling the other day mentioned something I'd never heard of before, which he called a training wall. It's a town cut leading into St. George's. He was optimistic that might be added to a list of infrastructure projects. I guess it's a rock wall that's got eroded, I suppose. Is that anything that's on the radar for the ministry? Is it too early to ask?
We meet with both corporations on a regular basis. I'm not aware of that item, but I suspect that they will raise it with us, and we will see in the upcoming budget if there's funding to be able to do it in the upcoming year.
Thanks, sir.
Minister, you mentioned that Public Works obviously is involved in this project. So is that additional funding? Is this a separate contract or a separate funding that you need, or is it part of the existing budget?
It's part of the existing budget in terms of the wide roading. We do wide roading as a matter of our responsibility. So we're piggybacking with Balco on the piece of land between Tatum and Price Right. It has been a bugbear for a while for all of us who live in the West. There isn't a week that has gone by where somebody hasn't mentioned it needing to be repaved. We refused to do that because we knew what was coming, because that's a waste of money. And so Public Works will bear the cost of the road widening with our own staff, and that will be our participation with Valco. But as the roads are public property, there's regular collaboration and coordination with Valco for this entire project across the island. In some cases, we are going in the ground with them in the trenches, especially in the east. That area around Southside leading into St. George's, we are putting in water, wastewater, and sewage pipes at the same time. Yeah, great.